will look at over the whole child and look at what's a good spot, what's not a good spot, and still plenty of places to rotate it so that you're not using the same spot. If it's flapping and they're running, it may have more to do with they just need some sports wrap around it while they're running. But we've got, you know, NFL quarterbacks and swimmers and everything else wearing it.
The rest of the questions after, would that be okay?
Sure.
Absolutely, sure.
Beautiful. We'll have plenty of time after.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Jerome Bell. I'm with Animas. We're Johnson & Johnson Company. Pretty much in this industry, everybody has clinical managers. So I have a clinical manager that works with me. I'm local. From a standpoint of materials that we have, I'd like for everybody to get one of these before they go. This has my number on the back, so if you want to get in touch with me. Also, this is an educational arm on our website where you can actually go and look at a little bit more information about pump therapy. This is not really selling our product, this is more education. So if you really want to know about pump therapy and how it works, this kind of walks you through, because we don't really have time to walk through the whole thing today, but this actually tells you about pump therapy. And this is a recent article from JDRF where what Animas and JDRF has done is JDRF gave us $8 million to do what they call the artificial pancreas. And what we're going to do is integrate the pump, the Dexcom sensor, with JDRF, and we're going to try to do an artificial pancreas. I say the first one that comes out will be one that will prevent you from going high, prevent you from going low, but you're still going to have to count carbs and give yourself a bolus. So that's just going to be the first generation. I encourage you to go to that website and actually look at it. When you take a look at basal bolus therapy, a lot of people that are on the Lantus Humalog, a lot of people call that a poor man's pump, simply because it's our first basal insulin. And so you're doing pretty much what a pump would do, except, you know, we haven't talked about basal, but basal rates, we can actually adjust those basal rates. We can have that insulin going like this in the middle of the night and say, hey, let's lower it, because I go high at night. So that's the big difference between what you call basal bolus therapy, what you're doing now, and what a pump will do. So I can change that in our pump 12 different times. You don't need it 12 different times to change it 12 different times, but you can change it. Some people have what they call the dawn phenomenon. Anybody heard of that? Blood sugars go high at night. We can have that basal going like this. Bump it up a little bit. Go a little bit. Go back down. This is all the pumps out there, quite frankly. That's the difference when you look at basal bolus therapy and basal bolus therapy with a pump. If you're on Lantus and Humalog, you should be counting carbs anyhow, right? So counting carbs should come easy to you guys. It's not an exact science, and I see you shaking your head. It's not an exact science, and sometimes you do the best that you can, all right?
It's the bane of my existence.
Yes. I'll tell you one thing that a lot of people will say you need to do is actually write things down. Because what do? We go a whole month, and we do the same thing, and we eat the same thing. And if you do a good diary for about a month, you'll see that you'll have something to go back to, and you can kind of home in on what my blood sugars were and what happened when I did it. Okay? Now let's get to the pump a little bit. 95% of the time, what you do with a pump is you give a bolus. Because once you set your basal rate on a pump, it's background insulin. So it's automatically going in there. Remember I told you about basal, you can go. So once we set those, it's going to do that same thing. Time and time again. If you get ready to exercise, you can take that basal insulin that you got going in you and you can temporarily lower it. And again, this is in any of the pumps out here. Okay? You can take and lower that basal rate. Why? What do you guys do now when you get ready to exercise? Most people eat. Now you have the choice. You don't have to eat with a pump. You can lower that basal rate. Okay? I don't know if you guys can see this from here, but this is the only pump that actually has the pump actually has a color screen.
Wow.
Okay?
She's impressed.
Great. I'm blaming her. And again, what I said you do is you do a bolus 95% of the time. And I'll go over the injection of a cannula. So I hit a button, and I know you guys can't see this totally back there. I go to bolus, and I go down to what I call easy carb. I hit OK, and I put in a number of carbs. I can program in here my carb ratios, 12 different carb ratios. You know, some kids have different ratios for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I can actually tailor those to my carb ratios.
I like that.
I hit OK, add a blood sugar. I also have a target range in here, and by the way, I can actually adjust those target ranges for different times of the day, 12 different times. I hit OK, and it says show results. So on here it's telling me how much to give for the carbs, how much to give for the blood sugar, and insulin on board. How much insulin's on board. And I'll talk about that because somebody had a question about that earlier, so I'll talk a little bit about that. So at that point, you actually input the number of units you need to give, hit OK, and go, and that insulin's going into you. You put this back on, and you go about your merry way. Again, this is what you're going to do 95% of the time with a pump. Give a bolus. Okay? Now, insulin on board. Let's talk about a little bit about insulin on board. Most of the pumps, almost all the pumps, has some type of an insulin on board feature. On our pump, you can set that insulin on board feature anywhere from 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours, all the way up to 6 hours. Because insulin stays in people's bodies a little bit different. Okay? So, with the insulin on board, it's actually taking in consideration how much, say for example, you had it set at 3.5 hours. It's taking in consideration how much insulin is still left in your body before those last 3.5 hours. If say for example, let's give an example here. Let's say for example you ate 2 hours ago, and you gave yourself insulin, and now you want to eat something else. That insulin on board feature is going to kick in. It's going to say this is how much insulin is on board. It's going to take it away from the blood sugar, the amount of blood sugar, not the carbs, because you're eating that food, so you always got to cover the food. But it's going to take it from that blood sugar. Does everybody understand that? Yes, it does all the math for
The
you.
amount of insulin, not the glucose.
One other thing we can do with this pump
The amount of insulin
is
they already gave you.
we can actually give insulin remotely with this meter without touching it. And that may be important for women and for the kids for that matter. I say men too, because if you're going skiing, but let's say that you go up in the bedroom, does your kid's blood sugar, and now you got to look for the pump and kind of fish it out from wherever they got it under. And believe me, the kids will wear these pumps and they will be all over the place in the bed. But with this, all you have to do is go to the bolus. And by the way, this will be coming in a color screen probably within the next 3 months. I can do the same thing I did on the pump here. If I wanted to put carbs in, I can input carbs. The blood sugar I just did just pops up because I just did the blood sugar with this. This is a one-touch blood glucose meter. And it says show results. And it's telling me how much to give. So I just dial that in, hit OK, and go. And remotely, you'll see this is going in.
Does it beep to confirm that it went in?
You can have it. I got it on vibrate right now.
Okay.
You can actually have it beep. Because if you're wearing a dress and you're wearing a pump, where do you wear it?
A strapless dress, let's make it even.
That's right. You're going to strap it. That's right. A lot of people will wear it on their leg with a leg thing, or they wear it in the bra. But now you don't want to have to pull it out. Or for that matter, if you are your kid is sitting at a table and you want to give them some insulin, and you don't have to go and, pull the pump off. You can actually just go straight here and actually give them the bolus. Questions on that?
What sort of distance is it?
10 feet.
10 feet?
10 feet.
On that particular pump, is it testing the blood sugar itself, or do you still have to go through the?
You still have to test
regimen?
you still have to test your blood sugar. We have a relationship also with Dexcom. I'm actually selling the Dexcoms now. Dexcom is a independent company that does sensors. They've been doing sensors for a long time. Actually, in the 1960s when they really started, they started doing a long-term sensor. And they're still working on that long-term sensor. But what they have now, you can actually purchase that now. and actually use it with the pump. The difference is you would actually have a receiver like this. And what this receiver will be doing is every 5 minutes showing you a blood sugar and telling you how fast it's going up or how fast it's going down. And you have all kinds of controls on here where you can actually say, hey, I want it to alarm at 70, I want it to alarm at 120, I want an alarm at 180, whatever. Okay? This is one of the sets that we can utilize. And I'm going to back here and go just a little bit. This is how you get your insulin in. This comes in 3 pieces, and basically you just put this on like so. And again, I'll be here demonstrating this afterwards too. And what you do is you just, by the way, this needle does not go in you. This goes into the insulin valve, into the insulin valve. So you push air in, and then you just pull it out. And you put enough in here for 3 days, 2 to 3 days. Some people will change it every 2 days. It depends. Some people's skin is a little bit more sensitive, so it really depends. I take this off, and then I take this off. I go to my pump, and I go to prime and rewind. And basically what I'm doing with rewinding is taking a piston in here, and it's rewinding that piston so it can come back and shoot the insulin out. So as I rewind that, I'll just set this up with an infusion set here. This infusion set that we'll be looking at right now is a straight-in infusion set. We also have one that's about 30 degrees. For kids, for people who don't have a lot of fat, a lot of times they will use a straight-in, the angled set, because we don't want it to hit a muscle going straight in. But these actually straight-in sets also come in a 6 millimeter or either a 9 millimeter. So what I'm going to do is just pop that in the pump. I hit continue. It's going to go up and tell me how much insulin's left. And that says 192. I hit OK. And then it says hit go prime. I'll hit and hold until I see it come out of it. So it's pushing it through the line. And we're at this point now. And at that point, I just pull back. And I can put this anywhere I do injections. Put a little pressure on, and then this needle comes out. So I'm going to pass this around, because this actually has a little piece that it's called a cannula. And so this is what you have on you. If you get ready to exercise, many times you might not need the insulin. So what do? You can actually take it off.
Of course.
You can take this off also if you want to shower. Now, this pump is actually waterproof. When I say waterproof, you can go into 12 feet of water for 24 hours. Okay? Now, I tell people this all the time. Do not take them in the ocean, because they don't float. Unless you actually have something that's securing it around your waist at that time. Especially if you're a boater and you like to be around that water. You know, this is great, but you know where it's going to fall in the water more than not? Toilet. Because you're wearing this thing. Okay?
Thank God it's waterproof, right?
Yes.
So when you unhook it,
Yes, ma'am.
does the tube portion actually stay attached to the body, or the?
Yeah, this stays. So what I did, simply, so we just put this in just like so. And so that little canyon, I don't know if you saw that piece that came by. That little piece, that is still in you.
Oh, okay, I'm with you now. So
Okay.
that whole thing is gonna come off.
Good.
But you're not getting any insulin, correct?
No, not if you have it up. No. No. But a lot of times you may not want insulin if you exercise. And I think someone said, so, there's a double-edged sword with pumps. They allow you to eat what you want. I'm not a diabetic, but if I eat what I want, what's going to happen?
Gain weight.
Absolutely.
You're going to exercise really hard.
That's right. You go gain weight. So it's a double-edged sword to it. You still need to eat properly. And notice I didn't call it a diabetic diet, because it's not. It's eating healthy. We just don't do it. We all should eat what people say, hey, do a diabetic diet. We all should be doing that. It's simply